everyone, Patricia here. Today I thought I would do a little video about some of my favorite books of 2016. Now, I didn't read that many different books in 2016 because I reread some series, but I thought I would still go over them with you guys because I think it's always interesting to see them even if the list is shorter than it could have been. And I really wanted to share them with you guys. So let's get started. So the first series that I want to talk about comes as no surprise to anyone. I have mentioned it already, I think in almost every video I've posted so far. And that is the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. I decided to show the first book in the series because I've read it, the whole series. I'm almost done with the 7th one for the 3rd time in a year. So you can tell why I need to add that to my favorites list because it's my all-time favorite series and I read it 3 times, so I have to add it. And in case you have not read Harry Potter, or the Harry Potter series, the first one is called Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It's about this young boy called Harry Potter who is a wizard, but he doesn't know it because he grew up with a muggle family, a non-magical family, his aunt and uncle. And basically it's about how his whole life gets turned around completely from not knowing why he could make things happen that he couldn't explain to knowing that he might have to help save the world eventually. Obviously not in the first one. He does not know that. And it contains one of the best friendships I guess any book series has ever contained or any book has ever contained, and that is what most people call the Golden Trio, which is Ron, Hermione, and Harry, who are best friends, all of them. And it just has so much to it. If you have not read this, I don't want to give too much away, but it contains a bunch of magic and it has the perfect story. And as I've said, I've read it 3 times in a year, and no, I do not have a problem. Or maybe I do, I'm just not acknowledging. But I absolutely love this series. So if you haven't read it, pick it up. And if you haven't read it in a long time, pick it up. Because it never gets old. So the next book I thought that I had to share is a book that I've also done a review of so far, of the 2 that I've uploaded, and that is Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. I love this book. If you watch the review, you will hear me say that so many times, and I cut out about half of the times that I said I love this book. It is amazing. Obviously it's not everybody's taste. I just loved it. It's about basically a couple where you can't really tell if it's they look like the perfect couple from the outside, but maybe it isn't so. And I can just do quickly what I did for the review and read just the very small bits and pieces on the back of the book because that's the only information you should go into reading this book with. Otherwise it could ruin the story for you, in my opinion. Everyone knows a couple like Jack and Grace. He has looks and wealth, she has charm and elegance. You might not want to like them, but you do. You'd like to get to know Grace better, but it's difficult because you realize they're never apart. Some might call this true love. Others might ask why Grace never answers the phone or can't meet for lunch without Jack, and why there are bars on one of the bedroom windows. Sometimes the perfect marriage is the perfect lie. There are different ways a person can be a prisoner in a relationship, and I think you should read this to find out one of the ways. I loved it, and it was just so thrilling. I've never read a book as fast as I read this, especially not a single book that wasn't a part of a series. So highly recommend this, and I'll leave a little link to the review of this book. I do not know, as everybody says, I do not know where the little eye in the sky is. Somewhere. One of the... somewhere. But I'll leave a little link to the review so you can watch that and maybe want to read it even more, even though I've just tried to sell it as shortly as I can to you. Next up, we have the book Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. Now, I absolutely loved this book. It's the first book that has ever made me tear up. I have gotten a little bit teary-eyed from reading Harry Potter, but that was mainly because I was like, I finished it again and now I don't have to read that anymore and I feel like I'm empty inside. But this was actually because of the story that I teared up. It's about a young girl called Louisa Clark who has only ever worked in this little cafe, and all of a sudden she can't work there anymore, so she has to find a new job. And in order to do that, obviously she needs to figure out what the heck she can do because she doesn't have a university education. She doesn't have that much to, like, not because she doesn't have a lot to offer, but compared to what a lot of workplaces look for, she doesn't. So she starts going to the working center, I believe that's what it's called, and she has help from there, and they say that there's a job where they're looking for where there's a family that's looking for a caretaker for somebody who's a quadriplegic. Oh, that's such a hard word to pronounce. Basically somebody who's paralyzed from, I believe it's about the chest down, because he can move his head around, so I'm assuming that's about there. This guy is called Will, the guy that she has to help take care of. So she goes to the interview and she gets the job, and it's all about the relationship that they have together and everything they go through together, how she tries to make him want to experience life even though he doesn't have, even though he's not able to do a lot of the things that he used to. He became paralyzed in his 20s, I believe. So obviously being a really active person and all of a sudden having all of that taken away from you and having to do it in a wheelchair, if you can do it in a wheelchair, is not that easy and not very fun. So obviously he's not very happy, so she's basically there to help cheer him up. And it's about the relationship, how it grows, what they experience together, and it sounds a bit boring, but it's so beautifully written in my opinion, and I just love it. And of course I got the book with the actors on the cover because it's Emilia Clarke and Sam Claflin, and they did an amazing job in the movie, and I just love these actors so much, so I just decided this one was a bit more interesting than the one that I had seen. I don't know how many different kind of covers there are, but this one was the one that I wanted the most. So I got that. Some other books that I read in 2016 were actually a reread for me, and that was the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins. I had already read this before, and I think I've read them 3 or 4 times in total, and I only like them the more that I read them. In the beginning, I liked them, but I didn't love them. I preferred the first one 100%, and now I just really like the entire series. And I mean, these are great books. We all know that. Everybody who's read them will, well, not everybody, but a lot of people will admit that these are great books and the story is amazing, and I personally really love it. What this series is about. So we have this dystopian world called Panem that is divided into 12 districts, and then there's the capital, which is kind of like the main area where all the rich people live, all the wealthy rich people live, all the ones that just can have a good life without worries. And then because the districts, they started a revolution against the capital at some point, the capital decided that they should be punished once a year for this whole thing, and they do that by choosing one child who have to enter the Hunger Games. And it's a boy and a girl from every district, meaning 24 children in total that have to fight together to the death, and the winner wins a reward for the whole district, if I remember correctly. It's still been a while since I read these in the beginning of last year. But yeah, it's a really good story. It sounds very brutal, it is, I will have to admit, and the series only gets more brutal. But I highly recommend it. It's my favorite dystopian I've ever read, and I haven't read that many yet, but I will get to more, definitely. Now, this next one might seem a bit random and weird for me to add onto this list because it is a did not finish book. And I will get to that in just a second. But the book is Horns by Joe Hill. I did not finish this. As you can see, I am on page 219, chapter 26. I didn't finish this because I started reading it and then I had exams and I got really busy with that, and I was just so, I was too busy, and I didn't read as much last year as I've done so far this year, and I just didn't have time for it, and then I forgot about it, and then I tried reading it again, picking up from where I left off, and I couldn't get back into it, so I'm gonna reread this. Now, it's a very dark story with very dark humor, but I think that's one of the reasons why I liked it, and that's why it's one of my favorites even though I didn't finish it. We have this main character, Ike, and he's in a relationship with a girl called Marin, and she was found in a forest raped and murdered, and he's the only suspect. So obviously everybody's kind of like, did he do it? Did he not do it? And the thing that makes this really interesting is the fact that all of a sudden, after this night that he can't really remember anything from, which is also one of the reasons why he's a suspect, is like, he can't really remember anything, but the interesting thing is that now people will walk up to him and they will just say exactly what they think of him. They'll say exactly what they're thinking. It does not matter how dark it is. He can ask them a question about like, who do you think killed Marin? And then they will say exactly what they're thinking, even if they would never say that to a person. Like whether he's met them before or not, they wouldn't, like something you would never say to somebody, he can get people to say. All of a sudden. And as I have not finished it, I can't tell you if the ending is good, but what I did read was really good and interesting. It's very dark, it has very dark humor in it, but it's just, I don't know why, but I just really liked it. And I'm going to reread it this year for sure. So one of the very last books I wanted to talk about was Everything Everything by Nicole Yoon. I have just done a review of this on my channel. I had to re-upload that. But yeah, this book, I loved it. It does have its things where you're kind of like, maybe not the most amazing, and that's why I wouldn't give it like 5 stars. But I still really enjoyed it, I still really liked it, and I had to add it on here because of the few books that I did read, this is one of the favorites. So to sum up really quickly what it's about, we have a girl called Maddie who's allergic to the world. She's allergic to everything. And she basically stays in her house at all times. She never goes out. She's not allowed outside because she's allergic to so many things. And all of a sudden, a new family moves in next door. And there's obviously a teenage boy involved because it has to be a love story. And his name is Ollie. And he's really intrigued by the fact that he's never seen her outside in the time that, like, after he moves and everything, and he's not allowed inside and all that stuff. And he's really intrigued by this, so he tries to get into contact with her. And that's basically how they start to try and have a relationship, I guess. It's not supposed to be a relationship to begin with. In the beginning, they're just friends. And then it turns into a bit of a relationship. If you want more information on this, I will also leave a link to this review somewhere. I'll figure it out, either in the description or somehow else. So the last book I want to talk about is Girl Online by Zoe Zug. This is a hit and miss for a lot of people, I will admit. Basically, I reread this because I already read it in 2015, I believe. And I reread it because Girl Online on Tour came out, and I wanted to remember what the first one was like. Didn't enjoy this one as much as the first one, and that is why this one is not in the favorites. So I'm just gonna put that away. The reason why I had to add this onto here is because although it's not the most intricate writing and the most amazing book and the most amazing story, it's very typical and it's not written in a difficult and beautiful language, it's a comfort book. It is. It's like if I'm in a reading slump, I pick this up because I can start back up my interest in reading if I read this book, and I just really enjoyed it and really liked it. Nothing mind-blowing, and it doesn't have to be, and that's why I really love it, because it's like not over quickly in the sense that I didn't enjoy it, but I mean I really did enjoy this. To really shortly sum up what this story is about, if you don't know, it's about a girl called Penny who starts up a blog and she becomes pretty famous for it. I mean, as famous as you can be for a blog. I mean, not everybody reads them obviously, but you know, it's kind of like YouTube. But in a very different sense still. But yeah, her mom owns this wedding shop, and there are two people show up one day and they're like, we're gonna have a wedding in America and we want a specific theme because her mom does a lot of themed weddings. And then they go to America and they have this themed wedding and make sure everything is perfect for the customers. And she finds this boy called Noah, and he turns out to be famous, which she did not know when she met him. And it's basically about how they meet and what happens with them. So you can tell it's a pretty basic love story, and it's something very simple. So that is all for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. I know I didn't read that many different books, but I hope you still enjoyed this my little favorites video of 2016. And I hope that you will leave a little like and a comment and maybe even subscribe for more videos. I have a bunch of new ones planned. Finally, I figured something out. So I hope you will subscribe and come back to me when the next one is posted. So I will see you then. Bye.